You know what they say, just a noodle in the haystack. Cause like Rick Ross, I made back. Haha. And like Rock Band 2, I'm on the attack. I'm in your wildest dreams like Taylor Swift. And I'll dupe you out of your deal. What's the deal? Seems to be a common thing. Morgan Wallen and Taylor Swift both did the whole re-record their music type of thing, you know? So, yeah. Up, down. Up, down. You know, I gotta say, not that that's related to anything. I guess I use that to smoothly transition to this. Did you know that killer whales, or is it killer whales or blue whales, the biggest things in the ocean, they know when they're about to die. So what they do is they swim away from the nest. And they do one big last hurrah in the air, minutes before they die. They lay on their back and they solemnly sink to the deep down in the ocean so they don't get eaten by sharks. So I guess they die gracefully. It's almost blissfully. It's almost like there's the underwater spirits and the underwater gods that are, you know, keeping the wells intact. You know, do spirit animals have spirit animals? You know, humans have spirit animals. Do they have spirit humans? So if you have a spirit animal, does that make you their spirit human? Now there's some unnecessary thinking for you. Who's doing more of a favor? Is it you to them to you? Or are really animals living in their own world? Because we don't really consider them part of the population. We don't have an active census on, you know, the cats and dogs and domesticated animals. We just have rough estimates. But, you know, are they not considered for our food supply? Or is it because we're really supposed to be their food supply? I don't know. Welcome to the jungle. I gotta admit, you know, I don't really, I don't understand how these old ass rock groups are still touring, you know. I understand there are some musicians that can still sound pretty good, but even musicians that sing pretty melancholy music, their voice changes. Like, they lose a step. It's natural humanity. To do a physical job traveling, you know, to occupy your time on the road, you're consuming a lot of extracurricular fluids and potentially particles, potentially substances that enhance the mind temporarily but degrade your mind infinitely. So, it's odd. You know, but it's weird because when you're paying for the act, like let's say, I'm not going to name any groups, but you guys can look it up. These bands have been together for 30, 40 years. Like, we know they don't sound the same. They don't look the same. They're older. They've aged. They can't, you know. Is it just the fact that they're so doing it, the effort level, as long as they bring the energy, that's what matters? It's like the legacy act. Like, people say that U2, which I've never been into U2. I've never really gotten the whole, like, appeal. Like, them and the Beatles. I understand the Beatles, they change music in a lot of ways. But when I've listened to some Beatles music, and I know I'm a little out of date, music has changed so much, my ear and my appetite, my quote-unquote palate. I hate that fucking term. It's all these lazy-ass terms that these chef people on the internet say, you know, my palate has just been enhanced. It's like, you put Worcestershire sauce. Relax, bud. You gotta have an extreme palate for this Tabasco. But, well, as my grandfather used to say, the paler they are, the paler the tongue can tolerate. I'm just kidding. My grandfather didn't say that, because now that I say it out loud, that could be interpreted some type of way. But anyways, oh, you Peruvian pepper. Which the Olympics just started, and I was watching rugby. I know I'm all over the place, but rugby, I gotta admit, in the 10 minutes I'm looking up, I'm like, man, this shit actually looks kind of fun. But rugby is like the perfect Olympic sport. It is the perfect, like, for a short period of time, if it's on because of something bigger than the sport, it makes where people watch it. And it's like, man, this shit's actually kind of fucking entertaining. And I barely, like, watching for 5 minutes. I actually started to learn how scoring works in rugby. Rugby. I sound like Scooby-Doo trying to announce rugby. Rugby? And then the USA was down 26-5 to Fiji. So, I guess there really is something in the water. Yeah, it's called... God, them dudes are big as fuck. Pause. But you know what? But yeah, anyways, as I was saying. Shit, I forgot what I was saying before what I was saying. Now I don't know what I'm saying, because before I was saying, what am I saying? Yeah. Whew, this Gorilla Mind. Gotta say, today's sponsor, sour watermelon candy, Gorilla Mind energy drinks. I gotta say, it I don't know why looking at it kind of looks like they put like neurosurgeon particles on top of the gorilla. Kind of reminds me of that scene when Tarzan's mom is looking in disappointment from a distance. Well, maybe I am a form of Tarzan, so maybe this logo, the reason why I'm attracted to it, because it reminds me of my mother, my spirit animal mother. Because even in the spirit animal world, I was still me. Yep, but here I am. That would be nice to have a tree branch for a house, you know. Have a little tree house. That's one of those things that's one of those fatherly activities, you know. You have a son or daughter. And one of the things that, like, you know, I want to build a tree house in the back. You know, I want to put a trampoline. I want to have nice grass, you know, have Scott's lawn fertilizer, you know, the old American dream. But honestly, the maintenance for a treehouse is pretty intense, you know. You're literally building this nice little tree house with no electricity or nothing, and you gotta maintain it like it's another room, you know. And nowadays, with everything outside, you gotta worry about zombies on fentanyl coming to your backyard. You gotta worry about creeps on the dark web finding your address because they track your credit card, and then next thing you know, they see someone in the candlelight in the treehouse because they know that what you do on the weekends because how you spend. And then they put a secret iPhone ring or the Ring camera in the backyard and your front yard and inside your house. And then they see everything that's happening inside your house, like you're at an Airbnb and they're already spying on everything you're doing. Which I don't know. If I was renting out an Airbnb, I would always automatically assume that somebody's watching me. Would I even mind? I don't know. That's on them. You didn't put anything in the policy that said the only balls allowed in the holes were at the pool table. But you know, Airbnb, it's one of those creations. It sounds great, but it's one of the most overpriced, insane inventions that we've come up with. But at the same time, it's almost worth it, depending on where you're at. Because Airbnb is supposed to be air, breakfast, and bed. Well, I don't know if the air part, because you're not in the air. So I don't know why it's called air. Well, I don't know what the point with the air is. It's not like they pay for your travel. They're not putting you on a fucking plane. Yeah. Airbnb. Also, I guess it could be interpreted for air, booze, in bag. Because apparently I'm carry on. But yeah, I guess the moral of all that is I don't know what the point of that whole opening was. I forgot most of what I said. You know why? Because I'm recording this at 3:11 a.m. Eastern on July 25th, 2024. Welcome to episode 290 of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, most important ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. For the archives. Put that in your archive. I come across some, I think we live in an oversharing culture, me included. Sometimes I share a few things I shouldn't. But one thing I'm very conscientious about being too open about is my porn consumption. You know why? Because I never have and never will and never do still. I'm just kidding. Look, everyone has taken a peek inside a few vids they should. It is what it is. Curiosity killed the cat. And that's how I learned how to pet the cat. I'm kidding. Most cats these days are hairier. But nah. There is this fascination with the self-improvement space, right? It's weird because, there is the youth out there watching things they shouldn't, especially nowadays. But the obsessiveness of them talking about the self-improvement people in the YouTube space, or just anywhere space, Sometimes they're a little too aggressive with the things that they're trying to get ahead of. Not everyone has these crazy porn addictions, but they talk about their own relationship with it, or their past relationship with it, what they did to overcome, and it's always, I found Christ. Or they would talk about, there's this one guy, I think his name's Dre Drexler. He was talking about how he would sneak, he was married, still is, I guess, had a whole wife next to him in bed, and in the middle of the night, or literally while she's in bed with him, sneak, try to pull up a little something on the phone and sneak a little beat, And it's kind of like confronting something and telling everyone about it is one thing. But if you have younger men that don't even have that issue yet, and it's man, is it really that extreme? Does it really give that euphoric of a feeling? And then guess what? Then they're going to see it man, this shit's great. Well, really, it's like anything. When it's not the real thing, there's always shame that's attached. Because you can lie to the world, but you can't lie to yourself, No matter how many feel good, no matter how many look alike, no matter how many inflatables, nothing feels like the real thing. That's just the way of life. So, watching something that you're not participating in is never going to be as fulfilling, Watching, if you're watching someone on a roller coaster, you're not going to get near the enjoyment or excitement as if you were on that roller coaster. No, I'm not trying to make a sexual innuendo for roller coaster. That's just the first thing that came to mind. King to Kai, bitch. Waka! Which apparently they're not making a new season of Cobra Kai. Because apparently they want to convert it to a fucking movie. Again. You know, sometimes like these franchises, these series that were revived back to life, like Cobra Kai, I never even really watched The Karate Kid, but like a year or two ago, probably during COVID and all that stuff, when they started the Netflix thing, like going over to my parents' house once in a while, like they would have it on and binge watching. Like I wasn't into it, but it was entertaining. It was one of those perfect shows where you don't really have to watch every episode, but you still know what's going on. It's entertaining. And now they're trying to... This is where the people get too cute with shit. Like, hey, if something's fucking working, don't change it. Now, they want to make a movie with trying to... Oh, we're going to place Jackie Chan, who was in the 2010 Karate Kid version. And we're going to have the Ralph Macchio dude, the guy who plays the main person in Cobra Kai, at least in the old... Or in Karate Kid, and then he's in Cobra Kai too. And they're not bringing back his arch nemesis / ally now. And now they're just trying to make a movie out of it, when the show was a perfect format for it. I don't know, man. But anyways, as Post Malone would say, I kick it like Jackie Chan. God, that line was so fucking terrible. But that's why I went country. I'm not gonna lie, some of the music's actually pretty good. I wish I had some help on this episode right now. But anyway, yeah, I think sometimes these issues, like Hamza with this whole Adonis thing, it's kind of corny as fuck, to be honest. And yeah, he's successful in the space. Doesn't mean that the way, like, he's targeting a very, very young audience using, but Adonis. This is what Adonis would do. Like, you're creating this anime fictional scenario using Adonis in this extreme masculine version, quote unquote. And you're just using, but Adonis, but little Jeffrey, an Adonis. And you're literally just manipulating young kids. It's not like you can be spreading a good message, and sometimes the way you go about it is corny because it doesn't really teach realism. It is teaching the extremism from a young age, and then it's going to create that they're either this or they're that, when in reality there's a build up to that. And people are always talking about, and when you're already talking about, you know, porn, or when you're talking about, you know, certain things that are like, shouldn't even be like on the radar yet to that extent for your audience, which are like 14, 15-year-olds. Now you're putting it out there, saying you're projecting that they're going to have these issues. Then they're probably going to have the issues because it comes with the territory of what they're going to become, this quote-unquote Adonis. It's like this necessary thing you have to go through. And, you know, it's just kind of odd, you know. It's very scamish. So I don't know. It's just always kind of weird. I think sometimes these improvement people, they mean well. But at the same time, they mean well in the sense of they're giving too much out too early. And they're a little too open with the extreme stuff. Like their addictions and things. So I don't know. I think if you always talk about your addictions, thinking you're spreading help and hope, I think sometimes you could put that out in the atmosphere and someone else can kind of pick that up, as weird as that may sound. I don't know. That's just me projectile vomiting. So, yeah. Nothing wrong with a little vomiting. I don't know why I said that, but Uh, but you know what else is fascinating? Komodo dragons. I saw a video of a Komodo dragon swallowing what was it they were eating? They were swallowing a donkey. Not a donkey. Yeah, they were swallowing a donkey. It wasn't one swallow, but it was one. They picked it up with their mouth once, and after a few readjustments in their mouth, they were able to swallow it. It was pretty intensely odd. It's an odd thing to watch. Because, we see these little things in our hands, like Komodo dragons are common domestic animals. I wouldn't say common, but for some reason we're allowed to have them. There's always one person within like an 8-mile radius that has a Komodo dragon in their house. And it's always the one person who's like, oh, he's really nice. He would never hurt you, And it's like, hey man, things getting kind of big. You ever thought about putting it in the wild or something? They're like, nah, actually sometimes I let him out and he sleeps with me. You're like, yeah, well, you keep that up, you'll be sleeping with him in his stomach. His one whole stomach. Yeah. But yeah. Sperm whales. When it's freezing, sperm whales, apparently, in freezing temperatures, what they do for hibernation is they had these storage thing where they consume stuff, but they can store the food separately. And they freeze underwater where they can live and survive because of still, the water melting, isolation, type of whatever in their gills. And because it's stored in them, they can survive through it. It's kind of a cool thing. Like, they actually have storage thing. Like, we can't just consume, a buffet of orange chicken, just store it somewhere in our ribs and be like, hey, if you just play dead for the next 2 months, it'll store in there and store it for constant energy. That's not really how it works. You know what? How come we can't do that? How come only certain living organisms are able to do that? Like, we have to consume stuff within a short period of time or we're going to die. Other things can literally freeze and they'd be just fine. So I don't know. But it's not fun. No light when you're walking down the stairs. That's why rent's at an all-time high. The cost of living's at an all-time high. But no matter how unreasonable cost is, the basic things will never be taken care of for you. Whether that's, hey, I can't see going down the stairs at night to my own apartment. They're like, hey, you got a flashlight though, right? And you're like, hey, you got a lot of money from me, right? The same Georgia Power people that come out all the time to check the meter and take my money. Why don't you have them check your fucking hallways and, I don't know, recalibrate it or repower it, These fucking ass wipes. I swear to fucking Jesus. Sometimes I wish I was in a behavioral institute. I feel like it's the one place where I could fit in. Not because I'm crazy. Not because I'm an outlandish person. Not because I'm going to start stuffing Doritos in my butthole for a sensation. But, I miss the community. I'm talking about I was once part of the Michael Myers community. When I was a young man, I stayed at a facility for a little bit. And that's when I realized one experience there, whatever stuff I was going through, you know what? All these people, they always talked about coping. They always talked about cutting, like literally, I remember seeing this one girl literally had checks. Her arm looked like Chex Mix with how much she was cutting herself. No joke. These people had issues. But man, you would get unlimited soda though. But then I cried when the one, what was it, spirit leader took one of my cornbread one day. He said, "You don't need this. What do you need it for?" And I'm like, "So let me have my cornbread, man. Shit's dry enough, you know." But man, it would probably cost like $4,000 a day. But you know, I think sometimes, you know, we have like jury duty. I just came up with this. You know, we have jury duty. I think we should have mandatory staying in a mental behavioral facility duty. Meaning the average citizen should be summoned to stay in a safe, and you know, I'm not talking about like max security, you know, but be around a couple loons that, you know, rob some cars or in tumultuous situations where they resort to the tough roundings of the streets, you know. And at these behavioral facilities where you share a bedroom with people, or you go to these meetings multiple times a day, you do activities together, to actually be around truly behavioral issued people. Then one, maybe we'll truly find out when people say, "Oh, everyone out here has mental health issues." Stay at one of these places, spend a week there, and maybe we'll have a real gist of, are all of them in here, or is it all spread out there, you know? But I think that should be like because I think people should have to be able to. But then, you know, the danger with that, someone could be perfectly fine. Then they're around that environment, and then now they actually have one of those issues because you become your environment. And they're like, you know what? You know, you get one person talking to you about the conspiracy of, you know, zoning in Atlanta, and like, oh, they did this to shut out this community. And then you start, you know, like, hey, you know what? They're on to something, you know? Like, I actually had a bunkmate. He stole Doritos. No joke. There was a vending machine thing, and him and someone else, they figured out how to jank away, you know, basically get free stuff out of this machine without ever paying for it, you know. And so him and this other person, they were just taking bags of Doritos out of here. And we would have random searches. It wouldn't be daily. Sometimes we get multiple times a day. Sometimes it would be once every couple days. It wouldn't be at the same time. They would do it randomly at 3 a.m. Sometimes they do middle afternoon when you're out doing activity, and they search everything. But they suspected. I guess someone snitched. It wasn't me, even though I think he probably thought it was, but it wasn't. And this man had like freaking he had like the mixed snack pack you would get at the store. He had like rolled gold pretzels, sour cream onion chips, 4 different things of Doritos that weren't even in the vending machine. So I don't know how he got these specific Doritos. And he was selling the Doritos. He was selling these bags of chips within the place. You know, he was a hustler by nature. Nothing but respect. And, you know, they searched him. They took it away from him. And they took him out of the room. And I don't know if they put him in an isolated room, but I didn't see him the rest of the time I was there. It's like, it seems like such a small, I'm not saying he shouldn't have been held accountable, but it seems pretty extreme just like strip someone of their room because, you know, they took some chips they shouldn't have, you know. But when you're around people in these facilities, you know, everyone's not there for the same severe. Some smaller. Some, they were normal people, but they did something. An isolated incident that put them in there. And there's some people that have a long history of family, track record, self-harm, doing actions that, being a minor, it was basically a minor facility, like youthful. Like it was like youth behavioral issues. And, being in that environment, it definitely made me realize, like, man, you know what? My problems ain't this bad. And, for one. Two, I got tired of hearing the word cope. I have PTSD of the word cope. I've never heard cope so much in these therapy circles. Like, every time just be like, so like you would say what you're feeling that day, right? These are all kids with issues, so it's all about what you're feeling, And what you do, you would say, and every single person would give in less than a sentence their response of what you should do to fix that issue. It's kind of fucked up. People with issues are telling you what the fuck you should do. And sometimes the people telling you what you should fucking do, you're like, hey, that's a new cut on your wrist there. I think I don't think I should pick your coping standards, I think you should keep your coping to yourself, It's not funny to make fun of that, but I'm just saying. It's like Dave Ramsey says, you don't have a broke person give you financial advice, and you don't have a fat person give you health advice. It's kind of a mean way of saying it. I get what you're saying. It's a bit extreme. I don't like using those words, but, you could take, you could get wisdom from people who don't fit the bill, because someone who has what perceived to be going, they may not be the best at actually giving advice to anyone that doesn't work, that only works for the isolated self, but whatever. But anyways, and God, how it's like when one person says one thing, everyone just copies it because, like, yeah, that sounds good. So you're going to get the same fucking response from people. I just think you need to learn how to cope better. All right, Amanda, what do you think? Yeah, I just think he needs to learn some new coping mechanisms. Okay, Josh, what do you think? I remember this one time I had a similar situation, and I just had to find better ways to cope with it. And I'm like, if I hear, if hearing the word cope wasn't motivation enough to get out of there, then you know what? I was destined for that type of life, I'm still coping from it. Actually, I don't think that facility is too far from here. May go visit. And one day I'll be a success story. Go there. It'll be like one of these famous celebrities that, like Robert Downey Jr. He's like a success story. He was successful kind of or whatever, had things going. Got into some extreme drugs, alcohol, disappeared for a few years, went to extreme rehab, and not extreme rehab, but went to rehab, cleaned up his life, and then next thing you know, he's Iron Man, making $50 million a fucking movie. Now he's probably going back to those rehab centers saying like, hey, you can do it too. And they're all looking at him like, nah, we can't, man. We can't do it. We don't have the backing of studios and these multi-billion-dollar companies that are actually banking on our success. We're replaceable. You're a little bit harder. So no, it's not exactly happening. You got Terrence Howard fired. We don't have that type of incentive, which, with the stuff Terrence Howard's saying now, I think he fired himself. Hey, all those mathematics, quantum physics logic of his, yeah, it doesn't exactly work when you're next to Tony Stark, I guess. But bright guy. Now that's a hustle and flow to get down with. Nope. Okay. But yeah. Everyone's just coping with stuff. Just one big cope fest. Would you rather have a coping fest or a coke fest? Well, typically doing coke will lead to coping. But coping, too much coping will make you want to do coke just to level out the hormones, you know? You know, is praying coping? What is coping? Coping these nuts? The James E. Webb telecope? Nope. I don't know, you know, how do you, like if you have a loved one or someone that you care for, you know, if they're coming to you and they're like spilling their full out breaking point emotions to you, like, you know, I'm at the end of my rope, you know, I really don't know how much more I can do in this life, like, and they're on the verge of, you know, really thinking about doing some drastic things, hurting themselves or just saying fuck it and disappearing from society and just kind of going off the grid. You know, how do you deal with that, you know? Do you support them? Or do you just be like, hey, you know what? Just cope with it, man. Because coping with telling someone that the answer is coping it is pretty, like, you know, disingenuous. Like, who the fuck are you to tell someone how they should deal with stuff? What if coping with something only has them relive and has them keep living in that mental hell that they're doing, you know? Where, you know, if they're just disappear and start a different life where that separates from this thing that keeps attaching them to this thing that they have to cope from, you know? Shouldn't we strive to have people go in that direction and to force people to want to continue living, being apart or being in close proximity, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally? Being free of that, you know, it's like when you get baptized, you know, when you get baptized, it's supposed to like be a cleansing. It's supposed to be a start of a new life, you know, all your past sins, all your past everything is gone. It's not there, right? And then, I don't know, for some reason in Jewish or wherever, they call it the moil, where apparently the priest, I'm not even joking, they literally suck on the baby's knob, the baby knob. It's supposed to be, you know, for, is it Jewish or Catholic? It would probably fit more with the Catholic reign. But is it Jewish or Catholic? But, you know, they suck in the knob a little bit. And it's supposed to be for some type of purpose. It's really no purpose. You know, even, you know, some things, it's like, can we just put like a new policy? Like, I know this thing's an ancient textbook type of thing. Not to keep talking about religion or faith every episode, but I will say, stuff like that, can we just use some daily common sense? Like, hey, you know what? The sign of the time says a grown man's mouth on a baby's knob. Probably not. We could probably find something else to do the same message, you know? You know, it doesn't like you putting your mouth on it. Is it really gonna, you know, is God really gonna be like, you better put your mouth on it, you know? I don't know. I know I sound ignorant as fuck, but I'm just saying. Can we just like get with the times, you know? Not everything we gotta go by the textbook. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, you know. I forgot what I was talking about. Yeah. But you know, we're all just private institutions. That's the thing with gyms. We got commercial gyms. We got commercial churches. But we got commercial gyms, private gyms. And there's this craze of gym videos of, really, I guess they call it TikTok gyms. Not TikTok gyms, but TikTok videos of people recording in the gym because it's their job, quote unquote, fitness influencer. They're recording in the gym. People get in the shot. They throw a fit because everyone's walking in front of their camera setup when they set it in the worst possible spot spot where the main walkway is, thinking I need to watch you do your 30-pound lunges like no one knows how to fucking do a lunge at this point. I think that's the thing that bothers me about these fitness. Like, you really think the exercise you're doing, because 99% of the time they're doing the same exercises. Like, I think it's cool. You're big and strong. You could press a lot of weight on this chest press machine or the shoulder press machine. But a lot of times these fitness influencers that have this stuff, it's like you're doing lunges. There's literally, lunges are not the hardest things to find. You doing lunges and you'll be like, man, her doing lunges, that's what motivated me. It's like, no, let's be honest. If you're a girl, if you have a following of men, it's not because they're like, man, she really has good knee flexion. Her ankle flexion, it's the way she spaces her toes is just puts her ahead of the game. It's like, no, I'll watch the knees over toes guy. He specializes in it. Watching a guy do, like, it's different. Like, I think honestly for fitness stuff, this is going to sound a little sexist, but I think honestly, the people that you watch should be your gender, because that's more realistic to the exercises you'll be doing. I'm not saying you can't learn something as a guy from a woman and a woman from a guy, but a girl watching Chris Bumstead bench 400 pounds, I don't know. Those are probably not going to be the exercises she's going to be doing. I'm not going to be sitting here following a, 29-year-old vlogger in Colorado because, she does really good split squats. I'm sure I could learn a few things about split squats. They're hard to do. But, and look, entertainment's entertainment at the end of the day. I'm not saying don't watch someone you enjoy watching for entertainment. But if you're actually looking how to do exercises, one, TikTok, Instagram is probably not the best places to go. And you should probably find a couple credible sources. And these fitness influencers who have just as much knowledge as you and I, and the only difference is they're literally just going off their experience, when you could just go to the gym, gain your experience, and then see what actually works, But you don't need to watch 12 people do the same exercise to figure out how to do an exercise. It's not really, like at that point, it's oversaturation. And it creates self-importance. We got too many of these fitness influencers out here. They're setting up these cameras, and it creates this animosity between regular gym goers and them. And it creates these videos for these interactions that unnecessarily happen. And then we got these Joey Swoles who shit on these people, deservingly so most of the time when they're doing a lot of this entitlement dumb shit where they're giving people smirks because they're just walking. Or, what's crazy? It's gotten so bad. I go to a old person gym, per se. I go to just like a commercial, 24-hour, smaller gym. It's a pretty well-known gym. I'm not going to give away the location. I don't want y'all mogging me at my gym. And, be like, man, he's smaller in person, But it'll be like you go to the gym and legitimately they literally put up just these signs they printed out. This is how bad it's gotten. And I haven't seen the gym I go to is simply not as big of a problem as these other bigger commercial gyms. But, depending on time of day, people there are people that, be on their phone, just sitting on machines or sitting on workout equipment, not wiping down equipment, or just taking way too much time, not being considerate of other people when they're at one of the busier ones, stuff like that. It happens, but it's simply, I'll say the ones I go to typically, it's not too much of a problem compared to other ones. So, but the fact that we have to put up signs as a reminder, literally breaking down, literally the sign says gym etiquette, and it's please don't be sitting down on a machine for an extended period of time just on your phone. And don't be on your phone occupying a machine that you're not really actively using. You know, be considerate. You know, just breaking down basic shit. What they need to add is honestly lifting in front of the fucking dumbbell rack. Like, it's nothing worse than when some guy, and it's always simply some guy that looks like he just got burnt off his Long John boat on a lake that was been sinking all day. It's always the man-made lakes, you know? It's always the guy that looks like Jimmy John's. They always just get, and they just start like, they'll just grab it, get right in front of the mirror. And worse, they won't even do it. Like, let's say they're grabbing a 40-pound dumbbell, right? To do some hammer curls. They won't even just like back up a couple feet and do it in front of the weight, the 40-pound station they grabbed it from. So they literally take 2 steps. What they'll do is they'll grab it, move to the left area where now they're in front of the 30 to 35-pound dumbbell. And let's say you're doing a similar exercise. Like, okay, well, now you got the ones I was going to use. Fine. I'll just use a lighter weight and get more stimulation anyways because I'm a pro. And, but now you're standing in front of that I seem like an asshole if I go in front of you. So now I got to wait an extra 30 seconds for you to stare at yourself, moaning to yourself. While you're basically just leaning over, putting all the pressure on your shoulders anyways. But I'm not going to critique your form. But the point is, if you were going to lift in front of the dumbbell rack, you better be doing a fucking exercise, right? Or I will look you up and down, you sack of shit. God damn it. And I don't like to be the gym police because I'm really not that guy. It doesn't impress me that much. But when I'm on a time crunch and you waste any fucking minute of it, yeah, we got a problem. That's the type of inconsideration where it's not just these younger individuals. It's not just people that just started going to gym. It's not just people that just go to gym, fuck around. It's the ones that you know have at least been going to the gym for years and years. And they either have an ego about themselves that, oh, well, since I've been doing this X amount of time, I don't really have to follow this gym etiquette shit. When honestly, you should be leading the example even more. Being honest about it. But yeah, there's my rant of the day. It didn't even happen recently either, but it's something I've noticed a lot more recently, and it's always from middle-aged guys. And the middle-aged part is not to emphasize, their age per se, but it emphasizes that it's from people that have relative experience with it, and they're doing this shit. And I don't know if they just don't give a fuck. I don't know if their eyes are so bad they got to be so close to the fucking mirror that's magnified 8 times to see you. But you know what? Either way, how hard is it to step back an extra foot so people can walk in front of you to grab dumbbells? Like, it's dangerous, for one. 2, the biggest issue, more than anything, it's one thing if I haven't even been to grab my dumbbell, fine. Now I have to wait an extra 20 seconds because you want to be a fucking asswipe. The biggest issue is when I've already grabbed dumbbells, let's say it's from the bottom rack, the heavier weights, because I'm doing an upper body movement. Let's say I grab 70, 75s or whatever, just for warm-ups, because, relax, it's not my working set. It's my warm-ups. If I'm grabbing these 70, it's heavy. It's, pretty heavy weight for someone to just be carrying around like nonchalantly. Let's say I did my set and now you're in front of it. Now I'm just here farmer carrying it for 15 seconds looking like a fucking asshole after doing a set of 9 fucking reps or something. Or now I have to put the weights down, wait for you to fucking finish. Then, when you're finished, then pick the weights back up. And it's an extra 20-second process that I shouldn't have had to fucking do. Because you want to sit there and look at your average ass shoulders. Alright? But, you know what? Sorry. I don't know. I guess the moral of all that is gym etiquette. Put it there, pal. Yeah. But yeah. I guess the moral of today's episode is your spirit animal? Are you their spirit human? Are you just constantly giving even exchanges of energy? Kind of like King Tut when they're in their underground tomb and they're just laying there, you know? Is it just this constant exchange of energy through your different lives? Or is it pretty one-sided? Do they do all of it for you and you just suck the life out of them? I don't know. And then I kind of forgot what I talked about the rest of the episode. So, yeah. That's all I got for you. That was episode 290 of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Damn. Pretty good. That gorilla mind, I gotta tell you, it puts a little woo in my chest. And there's something else straining my chest too. It looks like I froze, but I didn't. Alright guys, have a great day, morning, night, evening, and whatever scratches your lint-filled belly button. Well, you know, sometimes your belly button can smell like a smelly gooch. And then sometimes it smells fine. It doesn't even always make sense. I understand, like, you know, if you have a thicker stomach, you know. Sometimes the rolls, you know, if you leave the rolls out too long, the butter dries up and it gets a little stale. You know, flies start getting around it, you know. But you get deep in that belly button, you know. It's almost like going to the deep sea, the untouched parts of the sea, you know. Sometimes, you know, we're not supposed to discover everything. I think the numbers, we've only discovered like 5% of the ocean or some shit. I think the belly button should probably be the same. Once you stick it in about 5%, leave the rest alone. Let God do its work. But then again, if you have an Audi, you don't have those problems. And an Audi burger, snack on it, baby. Animal style. Alright, have a good day. I don't know why I just went on that tangent about belly buttons, but either way, se quiera, se quiera.